Hello and welcome to Health Exposure. Today we have a very interesting show. But first let me tell you a little bit about what Health Exposure is. Health Exposure is a show that explores alternative medicine, nutrition, acupuncture, and a number of other things. Today we have Deborah Arneson on the show, and you know she always brings a cornucopia of good information. See, I promised I wouldn't say plethora. Hi, Deborah.
Hi, Kurt.
How are you? You're going to talk
great.
to us about the endocrine system?
I am. The amazing endocrine system and your immunity. Or
And my
lack
immunity.
thereof.
And lack thereof, that's right.
Or
We're
lack
not going to tell
thereof.
everybody I was sick, but
Oh, no, honey, I wasn't talking about you.
well, not me, oh, absolutely not.
But we could.
We could, okay, that's right. We could cover the whole endocrine system today.
Sure.
Now, what is the endocrine system?
Well, the endocrine system, Kurt, is a system in the body that's extraordinarily responsible for the well-being and the preservation of your health. And it consists of a number of glandulars, and these glandulars are what we call hormonal regulators. And the hormones that they make, you know, and they also make these hormones because we either have present the correct amount of nutrients from different foods to make the hormones. The hormones that they make regulate the entire body, the whole central nervous system. They play and have great effect on mood, energy, depression, or lack thereof. You know, the body's ability to create muscle and burn fat and things like that. So it's an extremely complex system. They're all very much involved with one another. They're like, I kind of refer to them as all the glandulars as a bunch of little hens in a hen house. And
I knew you'd have something. I was afraid we were going to get by. We weren't going to have something that little hens in a hen house, okay?
Yes, and they're all very much aware of what the other little hen is doing, you know, the other glandular. I mean, if one glandular system isn't able to get enough of the nourishment that it needs to create the hormones that it needs, then the other glandulars try to make up for what that gland is incapable of doing. They may not reflect and make the same hormone, but they will make another comparable hormone or somewhat comparable hormone to help support the system, which puts more burden on that system as well. So
one glandular works hand in hand with the other? It's a...
Yes, there's a domino effect.
Oh, I see.
Right.
I see. Because I guess I was going to segue into what do glandulars do, but I guess that's basically what they do. They work
hand in hand, but they do so many things. They just assist the body in creating a really healthy, strong immune system. If the glandulars are working well, then you can withstand stress and bugs and viruses and bacteria far better than somebody who cannot.
Oh, I see.
If you have one, like a weak link in the whole glandular system, then you in fact have a problem. So you're as strong as your weakest link. And that's absolutely true, because let's say, for instance, we have the entire system and we have one gland like your adrenal glands, which are perched on top of the kidneys, and the kidneys are a detoxification pathway. The kidneys and our liver and of course our skin. But out of those three detoxification systems, the kidneys are very susceptible to be antagonized. They become antagonized by things like coffee, sodas with caffeine in them, chemicals found in diet sodas, medications and drugs, you know, lots of water-soluble medicines, prescription drugs, things like that. So the kidneys are taxed, and because...
Please tell me it's not so. Coffee, drinks, I mean, what's left?
Good things.
Good things,
herbal
okay.
teas
Herbal
and
teas.
certainly waters and things like that are kinder to the kidneys. I mean, you know, you can get by with being antagonistic with caffeine or something as long as you flush it with water, and purified water, I may add. I mean, fluoridated water, I'm sorry, is not good for you, especially for people who are compromised immunologically anyway. They should really avoid, you know, fluorine sources. That's taxing to the adrenal glands, which are the little snow caps right on top of the kidneys. So if you're really taxing, you know, your adrenals, then all the other glands have to kind of try to make up for what the adrenals are not capable of doing. And the adrenal glands are the backbone to the immune system, and we'll get into that more in a bit.
Okay. Now, how many glands compose the endocrine system?
Well, there are 6. Let me just show you what they are here. We're going to do a real nice close-up. I hope the camera can get this. Let me show you here. We've got the...
oh, you knew this question was coming.
I do. I have my little chart, and we want to make sure this is focused straight. Okay, good. We have, first of all, as I always say, the adrenals are the most important, and that would be these glands over here. They look like baby walnuts, and these are the ones, again, who are the backbone to the immune system. So for 2 tiny glands, they're extremely responsible. And then we have the thyroid. The thyroid is what we call the king crown gland, and this is at the base of the neck right here. right, where you have your little jugular. And in fact, you'll notice that some people end up with goiters. I'm seeing a lot of people in the last couple of years with goiters, or what we call Graves' disease,
yes,
which is a hyperactive thyroid. And a hyperactive thyroid, or underactive thyroid to begin with, equals a problem with the thyroid gland functioning well. And behind the king crown gland here, the thyroid gland, we also have the parathyroid. It's a baby butterfly gland that's positioned behind here, so you can't see it very clearly. And the parathyroid promotes the production of thyroxine, or thyroid-stimulating hormone, which helps this big gland work well. And this is the guy that helps you to burn fat and create energy, and metabolism is most closely correlated with this gland. Then we have over here the pituitary and the hypothalamus. And the pituitary and the hypothalamus are at the base of the brain, and these are the two glands that regulate depression. And this one here, the pituitary, regulates luteinizing hormone for mothers, for women who are trying to lactate. You know, it's a hormone that we must have once we've had a baby. And sometimes the milk dries up a little bit early, and that would be an indicator that the pituitary isn't getting what it needs. And then we have also over here the pancreas, which is very important. The pancreas is the gland, can you see that? The pancreas is the gland that helps the body to regulate insulin. And insulin is a hormone, again, that
and the pancreas is located
right underneath the stomach.
Okay.
It's tucked right underneath there. So as soon as food comes into the gut, there is a signal that relays to the pancreas that, yoo-hoo, there's food here. We're creating some energy from this food. The food is broken down into what we call glucose and then into glycogen for future storage for up to 12 hours. And then the insulin comes out to grab the excess glucose and bring it back down into the muscles, or to get rid of it and store it as fat. So this regulates fat in one sense, and more Americans are having more and more problems with the pancreas, and we'll also get into that a little bit, because they eat too many carbohydrates.
Well, that's interesting.
Too much coffee, too much sugar, too many carbohydrates, too much pasta, too many bagels. And then, of course, we have the ovaries and the testes, okay? And again, we're seeing more and more people who are having trouble conceiving. You know, men's sperm count is down, and women may show up with all kinds of, you know, testing for fertility, and in fact, nothing seems to be actually non-functioning, but they're having trouble with conception. And a lot of that has to do with the follicles in the ovary. The follicles need to be nourished as well, and these follicles, this is actually where the egg is produced. So if you don't have, you have a healthy ovary but unfunctioning or low functioning follicles, you're in trouble. And then of course we have the kidneys, and the kidneys again are a major filtrator in the body, so these are an area that we detox. So you have to make sure that you're really, really good to this system, because as you can see, these are really important guys.
Really? That's incredible. I mean, a lot of work, and yet it seems it's working as a team. Now, you mentioned earlier about the thyroid being a fat burner, but you also said that the pancreas is a fat burner.
Helps to regulate, right?
It helps to regulate.
Insulin.
Okay. Does one burn more than other? I mean, if you have a good pancreas but a bad thyroid, will you still be able to burn fat?
Well, that's a good question. Honestly, Kurt, I'm going to keep this up here because I think it's helpful for people to see this, but the adrenal glands are really the key to all of the glandulars working well, with the exception of the pancreas. The adrenal glands are the guys that push out over 300 plus hormones, steroids, and corticoid steroids on a daily basis. And these glands, once they trigger those steroids, and they produce and create these steroids and hormones from minerals and from glucose. Minerals come from, of course, hopefully, our well-endowed soil. I'm being facetious.
Yes, yes.
Our soils are pretty depleted of minerals. And then also from glucose, which is what you convert your food into once you eat your food. So again, if you have plenty of glucose, are you okay, honey?
Yes.
That's okay. If you have plenty of glucose, you'll find that, you know, the adrenals are okay, so to speak. If you have too much, then you really trigger a response to where they're constantly being, you know, stimulated, and they're producing too much of specific hormones. These two glands here, Kurt, these adrenals, they trigger, once they start producing their hormones at 300 plus a day, they stimulate thyroid function.
I'm sorry?
That's okay. Thyroid function, again, is a direct correlation to well-functioning adrenals. If the adrenals aren't producing what they need to produce, then the thyroid becomes suppressed. And it's not capable of creating energy, because these glands over here aren't producing enough energy because you're not even eating the right energy from the right sources. So the thyroid gland becomes suppressed, and then the parathyroid gland might become suppressed as well. And then you see people who have fatigue. And if you're tired, we know you're not going to exercise, right?
That's a good point.
Yes. So that's the correlation between these, and then this gland here also, you know, these two little adrenal glands trigger pituitary and hypothalamus function as well. So it's really important that you have two adrenal glands that are really well supported. So when you talk about that, it's really important to know that you want to take away any antagonists to the adrenals. And again, we mentioned that those would be, you know, synthetic chemical-laden drinks. Alcohol, again, because it goes through the kidney for processing, can be a problem if it's in excess. And certainly caffeine, which is an excitatory drug, and it very much excites the adrenals and makes them overtired. If you're constantly putting in caffeine, they're like, "Ah!" It's like sticking their little fingers in a socket and just wiring them for sound. So that's the story on the adrenals.
That's incredible. What nutrients do they need?
The adrenal glands love essential fatty acids, good oils, and they absolutely love minerals and B vitamins.
What are essential oils? I get that often where I'll tell people you need essential oils in your, and I know you've done a number of shows on that, but since we're talking specifically about the adrenals, and you again mention essential oils, can you say which one and where they get them?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Okay.
It's interesting to note too that our country has been essential oil or essential fatty acid deficient for years and years and years, and most of the chronic health problems that I see in my practice are very much related to essential fatty acid deficiency. And I'll give you, for example, and then I'll go into the foods that contain those oils. But for instance, I'm seeing a great deal of hypothyroid these days, you know, low-functioning thyroid glands and low-functioning adrenal glands. And as I mentioned before, the thyroid and adrenals must have those good oils. If they don't get those oils, then things begin to happen. The system begins to break down. It has a glitch in it. In fact, I've been seeing women coming in, women you know, in their 30s, 40s, and 50s and 60s, diagnosed with Raynaud's disease. Raynaud's disease is a disease whereby you don't get any, there's no circulation in the fingertips and the toes and the nose. It's always, their fingers are freezing, and sometimes they're so cold that they're actually blue. I mean, you can see there's no circulation in the fingertips at all. They're so blue that if you touch their finger, one lady had me, she held her finger up and I touched it and she screamed.
My goodness.
Because it's so painful not to have circulation, obviously, in a digit. So, what I find is these people are missing essential fatty acids. And I had one 63-year-old woman, just an adorable little woman who'd been diagnosed with this and this and this and this. And I said, oh, you do not have that. I said, what you have is an essential fatty acid deficiency. And I had her start taking her oils every day. And in 3 weeks, she came in and she said, you know what? I am so warm. I'm as warm as toast. I cannot believe it's this simple. And what we're seeing is more and more women in America, and more people in general, Kurt, are not eating good oils and fats. They're very fat phobic because fat has gotten such bad press. And saturated fats, yes, they can be hazardous to your health because once you eat those, you're too full to eat anything else. They're very, very heavy and dense. When you eat the good unsaturated oils, what happens is you're hungry. They fuel the immune system. They kiss and hug the adrenals, you know, all day long, and the thyroid gland, and they help to increase your body temperature and create metabolism in the cells on a cellular level. So these good oils come from foods that are high in oils, of course. They would be avocados. They would be raw seeds and raw nuts, not the kind that get hydrogenated and dried and roasted
Okay,
and
that's
sugar
important
coated.
to note. Yes, okay, go on.
Raw seeds and nuts.
All right.
Good wholesome olives and cold water fish, avocado, and oils from those foods. So fish oils, walnut seed oil, safflower, sunflower oil, you know, the EPA oils, olive oil, all of them are very good. Now, most Americans tend to be eating a lot of olive oil because everyone heard, oh, Mediterranean diet is so good for me. Yes, it is. The Mediterranean diet is excellent. However, olive oil is just one type. You need 3 kinds of oils. There's omega-3, omega-6, and omega-9 fatty acids. Olive oil is just one. So you have to do a variety of cold weather and warm weather seeds and nuts, and oils from those seeds and nuts.
Oh, I see.
So walnut